Let's head into picks and bans for game number 2. And if I'm Mighty Storm here, I cannot allow moswal with that Thoth again.
I would not want to see that Thoth make it through into a game number 2. And if it does, it's because a Mighty Storm probably has a little bit more confidence in how they're going to play around it. I don't think that it was necessarily the pick itself as much as it was moswal just got way too many last hit bounties too soon from a Mighty Storm. The way that Noble was just ensuring that their mid laner could clean up those kills so they could boost his lead was really the winning card for them.
I believe out of the first 6 kills for Noble, he got something like 4 of them and was just all over the map. His rotations were spot on. He timed his ultimates very well to secure those Gold Furies on top of things. Noble are looking like a totally different team compared to last week.
I would have to agree with that, and it's going to be the Odin actually taken away by Noble, even though they have the... They don't want to have to worry about a Mighty Storm having that first pick selection, but I left open Artio, and Mighty Storm more than happy to lock that one away.
I think Skeeledon doesn't really matter for him about this Artio here. He probably has an answer for this, and we've seen it before where there was a team to try to run the Nemesis against the Artio, trying to, even though you do get crippled so you can't really dash away, the whole idea is if there's going to be an Artio in the solo lane, you could just blow her up if she's going to engage on you.
To a certain extent, though, Artio can have the same effects as the Terra, and a Mighty Storm banning away the Terra, taking that away from Noble, wanting to make sure that Wubbn doesn't have that comfort god pick selection, and with the cripple in her kit, that is a lot of setup already for a Mighty Storm, but I'm liking the response of the Nemesis.
The Nemesis is very important here, trying to just melt the protections, melt the health pool out of the Artio. She's relatively easy to kill compared to other Guardians because she's going to use her kit offensively more often than not. Once players kind of sort of adapt to a different style, then we're going to probably see a difference of it. But either way, Susano and Huyi to wrap things up in the first phase of the picks and bans for Mighty Storm. Some good teamfight objective control.
And if it's not broke, don't fix it. And sure enough, Wowy locking away the Skadi. Noble probably super happy to have that permafrost back on their side for game number 2. But the mobility from a Mighty Storm should fare a little bit better this time around. Last game, every single member had an escape, but it wasn't something that could hard get away from that Skadi and the rest of the CC from Noble. This time, having the Susano, the Huyi, and the Artio already, all 3 members have a surefire way to get out.
And I like the fact that the Skadi was prioritized before the Thoth, because the last game, Noble last picked Thoth after they already had so much control on the board. Now with this composition of Chulainn and Nemesis, it's more about trying to dive the backline than necessarily try to peel for yourself in control. And I don't necessarily expect moswal to pick the Thoth here.
But take a look at those bans from a Mighty Storm. Every single one of them shots to Wubbn's God Pool. Terra, Ganesh, and Geb, flexing himself into the Fafnir, which is still a very strong selection considering the rest of the draft from Noble.
Especially considering the way Data Remember, I'm not sorry, Data Remember, Wowy. Every time I see Skadi, I'm like, Data Remember's playing Skadi. No, but the way Wowy builds the Skadi without the attack speed, really he's going to be relying on Fafnir, Coerce, and the Shogun's Kusari. Thoth actually is going to be the one selected for Mighty Storm.
But the bongos are going to head into moswal's hands for Noble. So it'll be interesting to see how these 2 mid laners are going to duke it out, because that laning phase is probably going to be a little bit more in favor for Noble.
Well, we're going to see as we head into second game, Noble with a dominating close to the first game. It was relatively even up until the 20-minute mark, and then things started to slip away. Mighty Storm, if they don't want this one to slip away, they're going to need to find a way to shut down moswal, I got to say.
Well, for moswal, he's probably going to have to play a little bit less aggressively than what he was able to in the game prior, because he doesn't have as much front-lining potential as before. Skeeledon playing the Nemesis, sure, she's got the self-peel of the shield, but when that ability is down, or even when it's up, you're still pretty squishy.
Well, going for the Purification Beads level 1 instead of the Blink this time around. We've seen some Nemesis here and there try to go for that early Blink, trying to make the plays happen. But against this composition from Mighty Storm with Artio, Susano for the pull, stun coming out of Wolp. Thoth, it's not the easiest thing in the world to get away with that aggression, similar to the way he did in Game 1.
I like how a Mighty Storm kept in mind the global mentality, because having that Athena ultimate on the playing field just means that Noble can't really overextend. Otherwise, they're going to have an immediate response.
I would expect a lot of aggression from Uzzy in the solo lane because he'll have Vivian kind of by his back pocket in case he gets in trouble or in case that Whalrus is going to be looking to play super aggressive. It's going to be interesting to see how that lane develops, but already an invade out of Wubbn and Wowy without a hog.
They weren't looking for the buff. They were just looking to try and find Akillathehun off guard, forcing out a little bit, about 1/3 of his health, which means that he doesn't have the opportunity to farm out his own buffs.
Already with a nice little comfortable experience and goal lead for at least the moment on Wowy is the idea that Noble are trying to install in the second game, and we saw what the possibilities were when there was a 1v1 boxing potential. Akillathehun got Wowy low, but then Plazma cleaned up. So I'm expecting more and more of these kind of baits and setup plays.
And moswal just trying to contest those fire elementals, poking out a large chunk of Plazma's health, but forced into his own purification beads due to the rotation from Uzzy. Now everybody else who's trying to shut down Vivian, who's caught up in between 3 members from Noble, and it's not enough. Whalrus with the first blood.
And Mark Maloney taunting after the fact, transforming and using that stun root to perfection there. Great first blood here, because now he's going to get a huge bounty to be able to get that next power spike play of the boots.
Initially, it just seemed like moswal was going a little bit too ham, and then out of nowhere, the rest of Noble just makes that solid rotation. And you're right, Skeely and Whalrus were just where they needed to be when they needed to be.
Moswal came from the side, the peripherals of Mighty Storm didn't really see him coming, and once the Raijin and Percussive Storm connected, that was just so much damage that it was very easy for Moswal to make that play and follow up with additional damage by using this escape as a damage, trusting in his teammates to be able to bail him out if in danger.
But that's going to be the second time that Vivian is put behind pretty early on in the game, and that's a rough spot to be in as an Athena. Typically, you want to hit level 5 as soon as possible so you can try and make that early rotation with your ultimate. Defender of Olympus does a pretty large amount of damage as well.
It does indeed do a good amount of damage, but that's not the end-all be-all of that ability. It's more important to try to just position yourself on the side of the map that you need to go to, and on top of that, you get that damage mitigation while it's being channeled, allowing for maybe some surviving plays, whether it's going to be mid or that solo lane. But and if you say that Athena's not too good from behind, but I'm looking at 2 important levels for an Athena. Level 5 for that ultimate, and then level 12 for the second relic. And then other than that, she's just going to be basically a taunt bot.
Well, everybody from Noble does have to keep in mind that the Athena taunt is still just as potent, whether it's level 3 or a level 4 Athena. Either way, as long as Vivian can find somebody off guard, Wolp can put a decent bit of hurting onto them.
2, 3 minutes into the game, still waiting for the buffs to respawn here as the mid pressure favoring out Noble, instantly going into the speed buff. Recognizing this though, Plazma underneath, but not enough time. Moswal and Skeeledon does so much damage. Taunt is going to disrupt the disengage. The pull is good. Moswal going to bang on those drums, but Uzzy's there before Mark Maloney.
And the final judgment from Wolp in the background, just completely shredding away at moswal's HP. Uzzy finding the last hit onto moswal, but it's not going to go unanswered. Mark Maloney, Whalrus cleaning up Plazma.
A 1-for-1. Moswal has been avenged. Plazma will take a spill. Whalrus with a second kill of the game, second for his team, with a nice little comfortable lead thus far. And despite finding that death, Moswal still with the highest experience per minute, sitting at almost 600.
Rather unfortunate that he was the one to take a spill in all of that. The Nemesis ultimate from Skeeledon onto Vivian, the complete mindset to just shut out that Athena yet again. Unfortunately unable to find the damage necessary so early on.
Didn't even need the shell to be used to save Vivian's life there, so slight miscalculation between the damage of the Nemesis Raijin combination. Killer's gonna have to retreat here, gonna get slowed out, uses the beads, anticipating out that stun, still gonna eat that permafrost for his trouble, and sitting at about 30% health. He's gonna have to probably back here.
Playing it safe and not even taking any chances of a tower dive, going all the way back. and looking to farm out his back harpies, get a little bit of HP back thanks to the Boombas. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, moswal's purification beads are forced out because of the dash taunt Athena.
And Plazma's forced to retreat under that tier 1 tower since everyone's cooldowns are completed from Mighty Storm. Now rotating to the right-hand side with those elementals, but conceding what looks to be the Gold Fury. No hesitation out of Noble. A 5.5-minute Gold Fury, one of the earliest ones I've seen this whole entire week.
And that was a beautiful call by Noble, immediately taking advantage of Akillathehun having been missing from lane for so long. But Uzzy and Plazma are able to find the kill onto Whalrus, so that call doesn't go completely unanswered. However, Noble still coming out just slightly on top.
Mighty Storm went right, Noble went left, and the objective favoring out Noble. Despite losing Mr. Whalrus there on the right-hand side, he didn't really respect the 2v1 potential there. Did get caught out between his tier 1 and tier 2, and that's a good kill there. It's going to allow Uzzy now back into this laning phase, as he's going to back with 2 kills for his side as well.
Uzzy is actually collecting quite a large amount of farm, even with his jungler having been there and leeching a little bit off of his lane. That's the advantage that a Mighty Storm has at the moment because of the fact that Uzzy's already slightly ahead. 500
gold difference in the net worth because of that first blood bounty for Whalrus, making some nice and interesting plays here thus far as both teams, as it's 2-2. Definitely a pick up on the pace as the Gold Fury was just started so early on, and you could tell that Noble are feeling themselves after winning game 1, because normally teams don't kind of make this kind of play happen in the SPL fall split.
Playing with confidence. Speaking of which, Vivian looking for the taunt already, but look at that health from Whalrus getting poked out entirely.
Not wanting to commit with that final judgment. He didn't have the wall to extend the range. This Whalrus is going to be able to retreat into his own side of the jungle. Plazma and Uzzy, though, are going to commit to at least trying to sniff him out for the moment. Disrupting Wubbn's back in the mid lane. Whalrus got spotted out by Uzzy. He's going to ruin him into place. But right under Uzzy is Plazma. I think he might be thinking about going in. Not until he sees 4 members, though, from Noble.
Excellent dash catch out by moswal, but it might have been someplace he didn't want to be considering the defender of Olympus. Damage coming out onto Uzzy, trying to get away 1 HP. Whalrus will find the last hit, but Skeeledon could go down in response.
Underneath was Mighty Storm. Plazma trying to save his teammate Uzzy, but not quite there in time. Left alone was the bear. The mother wasn't there to save the little cub, and that's going to be the first death for Uzzy. Noble still with an advantage here, about 3,000 to be exact.
That's a huge kill for Noble, because not only does it protect their jungler speed buff, but just killing Uzzy when he's probably one of the more farm members of a Mighty Storm is always going to be a bounty you want to collect.
And on top of this, he's slightly delayed with his build, considering that he opted for Bombus Mask, whereas Whalrus still went Hog to match that kind of clear in the jungle side, but not wanting to invest that 500 gold, really valuing the rush to Gladiator Shield.
Which is understandable considering Chulainn and his kit, he benefits pretty heavily off of that passive heal from the Gladiator Shield, so it should work out in his favor when he's trying to match the sustain from Uzzy in the solo lane.
About a 200 to 300 gold difference in the two hunters. Already we're seeing the difference of the builds as Wowy has the Morning Star. He's trying to rush that Transcendence yet again. Akillathehun hasn't really backed for those Devil Gloves quite yet. Doesn't have enough gold at this point in the game, but I'm expecting a little bit of action here on the left side. Skeeledon with speed buff is right around the corner. There is no ward. Oh no, he did walk over the ward. That's right under the purple buff. Akillathehun knows.
He's more than aware that Skeeledon's lurking around that corner. I'd rather just play it safe, and moswal just getting away. That damage almost taking him out.
Calculated if I'm moswal right there. Not even worried. Wubbn was right by his side to save him. The damage from Wolp wasn't just enough quite yet. It's only level 9 Thoth. Final Judgment was used to follow suit. Elementals, though, being started up here. Ultimate from Whalrus trying to disrupt any sort of aggression coming out of Mighty Storm, but it doesn't seem that they want to invade anything too aggressively.
But Defender of Olympus having been used by Vivian just means that Noble knows they don't have that global presence anymore.
About a 70 to 80 second cooldown now remaining on that ability, with Gold Fury respawning in 45 seconds. Could be a play to be had if they can bait Vivian on the right side of the map. The speed buff has respawned for Mighty Storm. Gonna get started out by Plazma while there's some zoning. Nemesis ultimate in place here. Uzzy is in a little bit of trouble. Typhoon, though, being used defensively. Going to knock up 3 members, but no follow-up. Plazma securing his own speed.
Wubbn just doesn't have enough mana to pursue this any further. However, he's still looking to aggress just a little bit onto that T1 tower. Without a creep wave, though, thanks to Wolp clearing it out, that just means that Noble's going to be forced to back off.
So something we haven't normally seen too much, at least in the jungle role, is Swift Wing. Normally we see it a lot in the solo lane because of the lack of teleports here, but Skeeledon on this Nemesis, talk to me about going Swift Wing.
Gotta go fast. That's the mindset right there. And Vivian actually dealing decent bit of damage to Skeeledon, forcing him back, but same could be said for Whalrus on that solo lane side. The buffs have spawned for Noble, and Plazma is more than aware, but Wubbn's here trying to help protect his jungler speed.
Skeeledon's low, very low, stunned out though. Plazma taking a little bit of damage for his trouble, confirming his own speed buff very nicely. Skeeledon, no ultimate for Plazma as he had to use that defensively, trying to secure his own speed buff. Portal Demon is available if both teams are feeling a little frisky, but with Gold Fury here as well, you don't really want to give up the Portal Demon with that much gold on the opposite side of the map.
Going back to what you're asking, though, and to place a little bit more emphasis on that Swift Wing pickup, it could be that Skeeledon's just looking to have more variability as far as which lane he wants to rotate to right away. Often as a jungler, you kind of get caught up in having to go immediately to where the action is, but when you've got a Swift Wing, you can still target something else on the map, maybe a buff camp that you want to prioritize before having to make your way over, since you'll get there faster anyway.
Especially if you're going to be backing to base quite often after getting poked out, which seems to be the case here for both junglers. Are taking a lot of damage in these little engages. Now trying to get more mobility, probably going to be the Masamune I'm expecting, or do you expect a stone cutting for Skeeledon?
It seems a little bit too soon to prioritize a stone cutting sword. I would imagine it to be the Masamune just because it provides him that 50 physical power, but it's the 100 health, the 10% movement speed, and the protection stacks that I'm keeping. I'm really looking at this item for.
Plazma took half his health off of trying to start up this Portal Demon. Was Uzzy right around the corner. Wolp and Uzzy spots out the back from Wubbn. Wubbn really knows that, like, there's no way you're gonna do Portal Demon right here with all of my boys right around the corner and Gold Fury still up.
And Gold Fury hasn't really been aggressed on either. It's mostly just been both sides looking to see who can secure the oracles, and more often than not, Noble's kind of just been trying to bank on Wowy as far as a secure for those.
Take the little stuff, right? Why not? Go for the oracles, go for the fire giant elementals while you can. Any little bit matters, and Noble understand and recognize this. Went for a very early aggressive Gold Fury play, going for a very aggressive solo lane gank onto Uzzy, sitting at about half health, forcing out the Athena ultimate from Vivian, now making it a 2-on-2, while Plazma is just comfortably getting his own speed buff.
But those protections just make it impossible to want to chase underneath that T1 tower, so Uzzy, even after being aggressed onto from that Nemesis ultimate, just fine, thanks to the ult.
It could be a bait also. If they have a 4-on-4 on the right-hand side, we could see some 1v1 action on the left, but making this rotation halfway is Akillathehun. He's thinking about committing towards mid until he sees 4 Noble members in that mid wave. He's forced to retreat under his own tier 1 towers. Wowy is now looking to maybe look for this Gold Fury.
And that's exactly what Noble have in mind. They've got the Fafnir, they've got the Coerce, they're hovering around it. They want to see if they can bait anybody in.
Yeah.
And without a Mighty Storm taking a bite, better to just farm out the lanes a little bit longer.
They know that Vivian is still in mid alongside Wolp, and Skeeledon is not there because he needs to get his own speed buff. Vision control in the side here, but Vivian dashes away, not wanting to commit with the stun from Wubbn, not on the mark there, so not finding any sort of damage onto Vivian. Had they poked out that Athena without an ultimate for Defender of Olympus to get back into the action, that could have been the spark that Noble needs to get their second Gold Fury.
And that as well is kind of just something that Noble is trying to catch off guard. Wubbn getting a little bit frisky in the mid lane, looking for the stun out, but Hammer just off the mark.
Nothing to write home about in the mid lane for Wubbn. Taking a little bit of poke for his trouble, but as a level 11 Fafnir with high diversion completed, you're not too worried here. A little bit of poke onto Vivian to follow suit, whereas yet again, more neutral camps for Noble, getting those left side mid harpies.
And for Noble, this could potentially be a Gold Fury call, considering that they know at least one member from Mighty Storm has backed. However, it was the Athena who can get there just in time because of that Defender of Olympus.
But Wolp is around the corner with Final Judgment. He's going to get zoned out by Skeeledon. The ultimate being rained upon by moswal. He will secure alongside Wowy, forcing the beats from Akillathehun. Noble walk away like bandits with their second Gold Fury of the game again.
And Wolp actually just launched his Final Judgment, seeing if he could clean anybody up out of that Gold Fury pit, but there was nobody. That Final Judgment did not find a home, and because of that, Noble might potentially look for more aggression on the map.
But not too much gold in the advantage of Noble. 3,000. Vivian finding a double taunt, setting up Wolf for a little bit of damage. Skeeledon negating it with his shield. Wubbn trying to proc those Traveler shoes, but not on the mark with his third ability.
Great job there, though, by Skeeledon, and also a strong idea there from Akillathehun to try and contest that Gold Fury. Yi, however, just a little bit unlucky. It does turn into a slight 50-50, though, when those suns come raining down on top of any objective.
Noble took a very calculated risk. It wasn't that big of a gamble for them because of the positioning from everyone. Mighty Storm was just too far away from the action. Skeeledon forced Wolp away from it. There was no possible way to steal it unless Wolp would commit with a dash and trying to get the perfect angle for the Final Judgment. Had he done that, that would have been a loss of his life. But at the end of the day, Noble walk away cleanly.
And Skeeledon, he's just trying to find this Yi, considering that he already forced out his purification beads, getting stunned out, however, instead. And now it's Plazma actually trying to turn the tables onto him. But Plazma's help, actually, he's taking out Skeeledon's first.
Perfect play. The pull into the Suns. Nowhere to go for Skeeledon. A little too ambitious is a jungler out of Noble, as now he's going to be waiting to respawn. But what happens on the left gets responded to in the right, as moswal gets his first kill of the game onto Uzzy.
The Fire Giant was trying to join the fight for a second there.
I mean, that's what you got to do sometimes. If you're going to die as a solo laner, you might as well die right around Fire Giant. Hope that for whatever reason, that knockup is going to lead to something.
And with that being said, it will be the T1 tower going in favor of a Mighty Storm for the dual lane. Both T1s already secured on the side of a Mighty Storm.
Portal Demon still has been untouched this game. 17.5 minutes in. Noble with a pretty decent lead. It's Wolp getting those right side mid harpies. Unfortunate timing here, as Wubbn wasn't able to really do anything there. The vision control has been favoring out Noble, I would say. If we take a look at the wards placed, we're going to see probably, yes, Wubbn at the top with 9 wards.
And that's just what you anticipate. And Wowy right behind. Both the ADCs have 7 wards apiece. I don't know what's going on here.
That's usually the least wards placed for the hunters normally, wouldn't you say?
I think you're just used to playing with Zatman still. That's probably the case there.
I thought every hunter plays like Zatman. Anyway, Uzzy in a little bit of trouble. 1v3 goes into the bear. Not on the mark with the stun. The root in place, though, onto Uzzy. Great cleanup there. Right side tier 1 tower will fall inevitably, but not until the rest of Mighty Storm are looking for Wowy.
But this is a strong call by Noble because a Gold Fury has already been secured by Noble, so there's nobody to respond to it from a Mighty Storm. However, they are trying to secure a kill onto Wowy, forced into the Aegis, but moswal's there, went into the Tycho jumps for a second, did not want to stay committing to that though, with everybody able to respond from a Mighty Storm.
Forced to use that purification beads. Didn't want to get followed up by the Hoi. Portal Demon now will be started out by Noble because of how long left-hand side was aggressed on by Mighty Storm. They didn't find the kill, but they're going to try to strip away this purple and red buff while the rest of Noble get this portal.
Buffs for a Portal Demon, though, that is still heavily in favor of Noble, especially considering that they didn't lose their T2 tower or even their T1 tower in mid.
I would have to agree with you, but at the same time, if you look at red buff at the later stages of the game, that could be a problem here. Nice timing from Wubbn as he avoids the ultimate from Susano, but not the ultimate from Wolp, even forcing out the Aegis here from the Thoth. Stun is good from a distance. Wubbn still in a little bit of trouble. He's going to get traded, though, in response. 2 for 1 for Noble. Skeeledon takes out Akillathehun.
Gave him the quick loop-de-loop, and it played out in Noble's favor for sure. I mean, he was able to catch the stun onto the Hui, and it bought him just enough time to continue aggressing, pop off his shell.
Oh, no, Wolp, he's left alone. 1v3. Uzzy was too busy doing the speed buff. That's not what you want to be doing when your mid laner's in trouble. Tier 1 tower is going to be in a world of hurt. 25% health. The rest of Noble, though, are buying their time. They're not all gathering on this objective because guess what? Golfier is respawning.
They don't need to commit to that T1 tower, especially not when Wowy's already securing the T1 in left lane. With all eyes on this gold and only 2 members from Mighty Storm in the vicinity to try and defend it, this could be a tight one.
Oh, the permafrost is just bouncing Uzzy back and forth, forced to dash away into safety. Wubbn is now making a rotation after reviving here. Will find the coerce onto Wowy. Golfier's going to get started here as Vivian is the only one around the corner to even contest this.
Hog just to make sure. It wasn't even needed, but Whalrus might as well pop it just in case. And I like that decision-making by Noble. They knew what they could get away with, and they completely pressed the advantage.
20.5 minutes in with Noble finding their 3rd gold here in the game. We were talking about a 3,000 gold lead that was at about 12 to 14 minutes, but now it's nearly beyond double that, heading into the 21st minute mark, and things are looking a little bit dicey for Mighty Storm.
Even with this disparity in mind, Mighty Storm still have a Thoth and an Athena in their arsenal, and that is really the key component here, is Wolp on this Thoth, because the final judgment can completely turn any game around.
I would have to absolutely agree with you here. Vivian, after getting first butted, though, has been looking for these taunt plays. He's now gotten past that level 12 marker where he's gotten his Shogun's Kusari's 2nd relic. He's now just trying to set up plays here for a wall, but it's Wubbn that's going to be trying to be a little bit of a nuisance here. Nice little stun from a distance, proccing those Traveler Shoes, but yet again, every time Vivian wants to look for a play onto moswal, Wubbn's there just completely saying no.
But that was still that was a really great reflexive play from Vivian. Could tell that Wubbn was looking for the hammer stun onto his mid laner, so instead he'll taunt him first and just eat that ability himself. Better
to get an ability thrown at a support than your mid-mage, that's for sure. Especially if there's anybody lingering right around a corner. Skeeledon take a little bit of damage for his sloppy rotation underneath there. Not really safe to necessarily rotate right in front of a Hui.
You can get away with it though as Nemesis, considering how much mobility the god has with the double dash, and your slice and dice can really deal a lot of damage. And since Hui doesn't have a CC immune ultimate, he would just be forced into trying to use purification beads if he gets too low.
Whalrus was about to get chased down by Plazma until the speed buff is respawning here for Mighty Storm. They want to secure that for the Susano that needs that mobility to try to make those plays happen. Did a decent amount of damage on top of Whalrus here, and that's a god that has a decent amount of protections with Gladiator Shield, High Enemy in line, and the health from the Winged Blade.
And I love how he built Pesty 3rd item, no questions asked. Did not want to have to worry about the sustain that Uzzy can provide to his team. Instead, trying to get that anti-heal online as fast as possible, which is what I'm imagining Skeeledon to be building into next is a Brawlers.
And still building defensively is Wowy with High Diversion now sitting at 2 stacks, has his penetration with Titan's Bane, still sitting on those 2 start items between Bluestone and Bumba's Mask. What's the next direction for Wowy?
For Wowy, he's probably
gonna... Hold that thought, taunt onto Wubbn, gonna take a little bit of damage, but it's actually turned around onto Vivian with that Nemesis shield. Actions are gonna get picked up here. moswal, though, taking a lot of damage in the back as Uzzy takes him out.
And it's going to be Wolp trying to charge up this final judgment, but it won't matter because Whalrus also jumped over into the T1 tower. Skeeledon on the backside looking to clean up Vivian, and he will find him. Suns are raining down, however, and Plazma able to clean up Skeeledon instead.
The shield was not enough to buy his life. However, Noble responding kind. Whalrus answering for Plazma. 3 for 2. Noble not done yet. Thinking about potentially diving this tier 1 tower. Akillathehun sitting at level 19. He's going to do a lot of damage here, Taco. Sitting with Chinsai's Executioner.
The Chinsai's Executioner is actually enough to get Noble to back off, which is why Mighty Storm started pushing up the lane. But Uzzy now running kind of low on mana. Needs to be aware of that still. Both sides just going to fall back to their respective jungles, and I mean, for the better. Akillathehun, though, still healthy enough to potentially look at this Portal Demon, and it will be a Mighty Storm pulling it, considering that Vivian is there to assist.
And it's Whalrus alongside Wowy, both half health right around the corner, but Permafrost tried to force them so far back that it would actually reset the Portal Demon. Whalrus jumps in, he's gonna take a spill. What was he thinking?
He had no idea for a moment. I think he kind of just forgot he's not that tanky against a Huyi who built Shred.
Normally, as a Chulainn, whenever you make that kind of a play to bait yourself, you're about to transform into your other form, but this time around, Whalrus didn't have enough rage to hit that 85 marker, and even then, if he did, I still suspect that the rest of Mighty Storm would have just went through that portal anyway and chased him down.
But now, with the portal being in favor for a Mighty Storm, all the members are back and ready to try and siege this T1 tower at the very least. Whalrus still down for another 17 seconds or so, means that there's really no way for Noble to get super aggressive with the contest. Vivian did get poked out enough, though, for Skeeledon to feel confident going in.
He's going and he blinks and he eliminates Wolp, but not before he gets responded to. Akilla getting that kill. He's forced to use his Aegis to follow up. He's going to get actually taunted into place. Nice ultimate from Wowy. Finds that Hunter. Vivian forced to retreat underneath his Plazma, thinking about going in, but couldn't connect onto that pull for Wubbn. And end of the day, 2 for 1 for Noble, and they hold on to their tier 1 tower for the moment.
Even though that was great by Noble, that bounce, that triple bounce onto Skeeledon was nuts.
It was absolutely monstrous, and speaking of monstrous, Uzzy's now a bear, Wubbn is now a dragon. There's so many monsters on the battlefield trying to catch up to Uzzy now in the druid form. The rest of Mighty Storm will hold on to their tier 1 tower as well, but guess what? Gold Fury is up, and they already secure 3 is Noble. They're going for number 4.
It's like a Mighty Storm keeps securing the little objectives, aka the tier 1 towers and the Portal Demons, but they're having a difficult time securing these big ones that actually amount to something. Multiple Gold Furies in favor of Noble. That's the 4th one this game that they've been able to take down.
It's about 6,500 gold in the lead now. They don't have the same commanding lead that they did in game number 1, but it's still a good enough lead to build something off of. With this kind of an advantage, there's a position that Noble can start to push forward and drop some sentries in some good tactical positions to look for some sloppy rotations out of Mighty Storm.
It might only be around 7,000 gold, which isn't too much considering we're approaching the 30-minute mark, but being about 5,000 experience under is a difficult place for a Mighty Storm, especially when a large portion of that disparity is coming between not only the supports, but also the mid laners.
Talk to me about the late game here, Taco, because that's exactly where I'm seeing this one going here between Noble and Mighty Storm.
Well, the questionable part about the late game is Wolp has Final Judgment in comparison to moswal on the Taiko drums. You've got bongos facing off against triangles, and I feel as though a Final Judgment is probably going to influence a team fight more so than what a Taiko drums can.
Especially considering that when moswal uses his ultimate, he's rather slow throwing out those drums. You receive about a 20% movement penalty or so, and that's going to be an easy target if Wolp can line that up correctly.
And that's the main thing, is that Wolp has so much setup because he's got the pull-in setup from Plazma. He has Uzzy with the cripples, keeping members locked down in one particular area, and then you just have a clean taunt from Athena.
I like what Akillathehun was doing there. Not necessarily hitting the fire giant, but firing next to it, trying to get some particles out there, baiting Noble just to peek their head around the corner. Wubbn jumps in, but it's Vivian that gets hit with the Nemesis ultimate, double dashing forward. They're rooting into place by the Wowy ultimate. The rest of Noble, though, in the backline trying to save moswal.
And Skeeledon now trying to get away. The shell is going to buy him just enough time. Wubbn also getting poked out pretty low here, but everybody else from a Mighty Storm is still super healthy. Just unfortunate that Vivian got completely shredded there.
Wolp has just not been doing the same amount of work that moswal has been doing in the last game with this Thoth. He hasn't been on the mark with these final judgments. Now, the player damage is still relatively even between these two mid-mages, but the way moswal was playing this god, it just seemed like a two different entities between these two players.
At the same time, though, moswal was given an early lead in comparison to Wolp, who's kind of just been forced out more often than not due to the Nemesis ultimate. Skeeledon has been all over the place, and same with Wubbn, just really looking to take advantage of the mid laner whenever they can, and now it's going to be Akillathehun forced into his purification beads, even though Skeeledon, he was ready to give up the chase.
Wouldn't you rather, instead of just using purification beads, build into Wingblade? If your opposing hunter is going to build Hide of Urchin to build tanky, why not yourself sacrifice an item to counter Nemesis completely?
Because Hui doesn't have Kaldor on his side. If he had Kaldor, then he can, sure, build every single Wingblade in the game, but the problem is that Wowy still gets a power spike, even having that Hide of the Urchin. It's not the same kind of power spike that could be credited, though, to a Hui opting for a defensive build.
Fair enough, fair enough. Wolp now in position to look for the setup here by Vivian, but yet again, every time Vivian is there with Wolp, it's Wubbn jumping over the mid Harpies, damaging Vivian. He's forced to back before he would definitely like to. And now, Noble recognizing this, gonna take the little objective. Portal Demon is gonna be looked at.
Uzzy, however, already scouting it out, this 5-man grouping from Noble as moswal tries to get a little bit of poke, instead eating it himself. Uzzy trying to get away, now sliding all over the place from that permafrost. Nemesis ultimate has been popped, but so is the final judgment, taking out half of moswal's health.
A little bit of damage onto moswal, but he's still sitting pretty in the back. The rest of Noble trying to lock down Uzzy. Sons from Akillathehun, keeping everybody from Noble in play at bay. They're forced to retreat. Portal Demon and Fire Giant are still standing strong. It's a bit of a wash for both teams. A lot of damage across the board and a lot of relics being expended.
That was such a cluster of a grouping. Everybody just in one spot, could not seem to get the better end. However, it will be a Mighty Storm securing the Portal Demon, so technically the favor is all theirs.
Still a 6,500 gold lead for Noble. They're not too worried about giving up this objective unless Mighty Storm take this portal and instantly start up the Fire Giant. However, the vision from Noble is good enough between the two Sentry Wards, one right above the right side mid Harpy and one right underneath the Fire Giant. You can even hear those portals being taken underneath, and with Wolp here being respawned, Noble secured their 4th one. Can they get away with number 5?
I'm not sure, because Akillathehun's already making moves to try and finally find the first Gold Fury for his team this game so they can finish off their item builds, upgrade some relics, and it will be a Mighty Storm's Gold Fury, first one of the game.
It only took 31 minutes and 51 seconds for Mighty Storm to secure it, but better late than never, diminishing some of that gold lead, finding the taunt and baiting out the Nemesis ultimate. Vivian's gonna run away, as will Uzzy. Skeeledon will get pulled away. moswal banging on the drums, catching Uzzy. He's in place between 5 Noble members, first victim of this team fight.
And that final judgment just ripped up front everybody on Noble, but just not enough damage to one-shot quite yet. So unfortunate, because that was a really well placed.
Oh, Akilla, he's really low, forced to dive bomb away. No fear out of Noble. They're done with tier 1, but they're not done with their tier 2 quite yet. 5 on 4 for another 40 seconds as Uzzy needs to respawn. Akilla is very low as well, so he's gonna have to back. But the rest of Noble not wanting to put all their eggs in one basket on that Fire Giant, even with Wolp's ultimate being on cooldown.
I like the discipline from Noble to retreat after securing the T1 tower and the pick onto Uzzy, as opposed to engaging onto Fire Giant. They were poked out enough to where if they had tried to commit to that Fire Giant, even with Mighty Storm only having 4 members available, they were actually healthy enough to give a strong contest with the Fire Giant wailing down onto Noble.
Even with Akillathehun being at 10% health?
Akillathehun could have definitely just lifesteal. He could have just lifestealing off of the back Harpies or even any wave.
All that thought though, Noble, they didn't want to do it 5 on 4, but they will do it 5 on 5. Half health already. Around the corner is Vivian and Plazma. Typhoon comes out. Whalrus will secure the Fire Giant. Plazma will fall victim here. Uzzy is going to be the next victim. Final judgment forcing Skeeledon out of the action. Noble are not done yet. They got the Fire Giant, but now they're going to basically recollect themselves and use this Fire Giant to get some towers.
You see Skeeledon dashing forward, getting hit by Final Judgment, and the immediate dash back, hit B, ready to return to base.
It's so difficult to really prepare for a Final Judgment depending on the angle. Like, if you don't know where Wolp is, you're just going to have to play your game. Like, if you get hit by it, you get hit by it. You're going to have to retreat anyway. So it's still a good look, the fact that he survived that in the first place. It's not a full build Thoth. Has that Raijin, but he's sitting at about 4.5 items. It looks like he's trying to finish off that Chronos pendant.
Looking for the Chronos pendant. The 80 magical power could continue to assist them, as well as just the initial cooldown reduction. Having the ability to poke out even more so on Thoth is really going to be the crucial aspect for playing tower defense.
Not having too much more to write home about is Noble, though, but they will get this tier 2 tower. Still extending their goal lead ever so slightly. They've now reached that mark where you will have 6 items completed collectively between every single member if they look to back. But they need to get these tier 2 towers off the board. There's 3 more 1,000 gold waiting for them.
And they're more than happy to take it. A Mighty Storm not really trying to play too aggressively underneath their towers, knowing just how much shred potential Noble has against these objectives, especially with Wowy on this Skadi. I mean, he's got almost full pen. He's just missing a couple or one more pen item, but the Brawlers and the Titan's Bane, along with that power spike from the Shifters and Transcendence, is more than enough damage alongside of a Fafnir to take those ones away.
I just love the build from Wowy because of that Brawler speed stick and the pick from Skeeledon with the Nemesis just to try to shut down Uzzy playing this Artio. You would think that the cripple would negate Skeeledon, but in fact it's the burst damage that Uzzy can't realistically handle, especially at this stage of the game. Wubbn baiting out some cooldowns, able to jump away just in the nick of time. All the towers stripped away against Mighty Storm, and with Fire Giant still around the waist of Noble for another minute and a half, they have 3 more waves to attempt a siege.
Right now they're attempting to defend as Akillathehun already forcing his purification beads and jumping back underneath his Phoenix. Noble just wants to go in, and Wubbn already headed up to the Dragon Form.
Transforms into the Dragon. Skeeledon wrapping around through the jungle. Vivian taking a lot of damage. Typhoon ripping through the left-hand side as Wowy's forced to retreat back to the grave as Whalrus. And so far, Mighty Storm are holding on to this left side Phoenix.
And it's going to be Wowy actually getting chased out by Uzzy, popping the Thorns, looking to see who else he can lock away for his team. Wubbn could be the next target here as Akillathehun's trying to get in close, looking for the ricochet dump stun, and he will find it.
And Akillathehun might have bit off more than he could chew, though, because he got responded to in kind. Skeeledon taking that, but so far it's been a 1 for 2. moswal, though, doesn't have his escape. It's a 3 for 1. Mighty Storm, they're defending this Fire Giant siege brilliantly.
And without a doubt, a Mighty Storm are going to hold on to all of their Phoenixes.
They're not done yet. They're going to catch Wowy with the taunt. Uzzy will keep him rooted into place. Wolp with the stun. 4 members dead from Noble. Mighty Storm now have an opportunity to get some towers of their own.
They might even get a Phoenix here. Look at those death respawn timers from Noble. The next spawning one outside of Whalrus is going to be Wubbn, and he's still got about 22 seconds remaining. With the wall from Wolp, there might be enough damage here. They don't feel comfortable, however, and they're just going to back off instead.
What went wrong for Noble? Because we saw Whalrus get a perfect 3-man knockup.
Wowy got hit by the Final Judgment and was immediately forced out of the fight, and Uzzy took advantage of that entirely, just immediately chasing after him, splitting up Noble so that they were not able to have the same sort of target focus we've been seeing from them all game long.
Heading now into the 38-minute mark, Mighty Storm get their second goal here of the game, whereas Noble are just going to get this Portal Demon for the moment here. So far, still about a 7,000 goal lead, but at 38 minutes, this goal lead is basically meaningless. There's a full build on the side of Mighty Storm, with exception of Wolp here. He's still working on that 6th item.
And additionally, it was Whalrus left alone tanking that left-hand Phoenix, and also Akillathehun's shots with the Mark of the Crow passive being on top of him. There's just not a whole lot of playroom around that, since Wubbn had to fall back to try and protect his hunter.
Poke, disengage, re-engage is the key to success when the siege of the Phoenixes needs to go correctly. And for Noble, they bit off a little more than they can chew. They couldn't really peel back because of all that AoE control between Akillathehun and Plazma.
That's exactly why a Mighty Storm is definitely not out of this game just yet. There's still more than enough opportunity for them to come back if they can just keep finding those final judgments and kill secures off of Wolp.
Wolp's damage has definitely skyrocketed since the last time we saw it. It was at about 10,000, now sitting pretty, almost 22, almost the highest in the game. Both hunters are slightly more than the Thoth currently, as Fire Giant has respawned now. Noble, they didn't strip away any Phoenixes, but they got every single tower.
I mean, moswal is so concerned about final judgment, I believe he even picked up a Stone of Fall. Which
That's
is
one way.
It's an excellent item against a Thoth because it prevents you from being one shot. I believe it reduces it to it's 30%, I want to say, where it'll take you to that amount of being hit by the ability that's meant to like one shot more than a certain portion of your health.
As long as he doesn't get hit by any other ability that procs that Fall of Stone, then yes, he will survive the initial burst damage from Wolp, and that's all he needs. Willing to sacrifice his own damage, moswal has now transformed himself into this utility mage because he has Spear of Magus trying to amplify more damage of even Wubbn, which isn't a bad idea. Fafnir does enough damage on his own side against any sort of squishy target. And then to keep people in place after proccing the Raijin chain lightning effect with that gem of isolation.
For Noble, they just have to play as spread out as possible, but still in the same area. However, it could be Wubbn going down first before anything else, already forced up into his dragon form to try and get away. That was such an instant chain of events for damage.
And Whalrus trying to help his own support by using his ultimate prematurely. He now goes into his range form a little bit earlier than he wanted to force out this fight, and easily Mighty Storm can take advantage with those two ultimates being on cooldown.
And now it's going to be Skeeledon actually getting aggressed onto yet again by Vivian with these taunts off the Athena. moswal forced the TP away, just trying to play it as safe as possible.
Wubbn was backed. Now he's going to be able to try to get back into position here to defend this Fire Giant, but yet again, Mighty Storm not wanting to pull the trigger quite yet on this Fire Giant. There's no reason to, honestly, as long as they can wait for Vivian to find the perfect dash taunt. All game long, Vivian couldn't really find the plays necessary, but this stage, when teams are grouped around the Fire Giant, as long as they have the vision, Mighty Storm are going to be setting up Wolp every single time.
Well, additionally, Mighty Storm starting to hit their late game stride, so they just have so much damage now off of any taunt from Vivian. It's so dangerous for Noble to try and move around this ability.
Basically taunted yet again is Wubbn, taking a little bit of damage, blinking in is Skeeledon, forcing out the jump out of Killa, charging the ultimate is Wolp. Wubbn jumping in, stunning out Killa. The rest of Noble is raining on in. Typhoon being charged, splitting up on the top hand side. The Ricochet doing a little bit of damage, but Wolp doesn't really do that much damage. Uzzy, however, stuck in a 1v5. He's gonna fall first.
And it's gonna be Wubbn's Fafnir coming back into play, jumping into the dragon form, but everybody has already backed off from a mighty form. The fight is kind of just disintegrated after that pick onto Uzzy.
It's basically fizzled out. 42 minutes into the game. It's a 5-on-4 for 50 seconds for Noble. That's a long time to try to bait out the opponents in a bad position.
And because of how long that respawn timer is for Uzzy, Noble feel comfortable with backing, refreshing their health and mana pools, and then looking to engage onto the Fire Giant. That's probably the safer play to make. moswal wanting to add just a little bit more of a power boost to himself, securing his red buff, and right now, fully kitted Raijin with a red buff, he's swinging away pretty heavily, although his poke doesn't have the same kind of range efficiency as Wolp on this Thoth.
Something we haven't really spoken about, but is this late game Chalice of the Oracle at a Wowy. Maybe that's why his warding is just so high, but the Fire Giant has been started half health. Vivian finding the stun onto 2. Plazma finds the pull on those same 2 targets. Fire Giant still very low, but Skeeledon is going to chase down Killa, forcing out the Suns, but it doesn't matter. moswal banging on those drums onto Vivian. The rest of his team, though, they're more focused on trying to pick off Wolp.
And Wubbn was actually just getting solely aggressed on by Plazma. Meanwhile, Wolp is just getting destroyed by the entirety of Noble. And now with 3 members being dead from a Mighty Storm, there's no one to try and defend this Portal Demon or Fire Giant aggression, really.
I love what Noble are doing. They don't want to secure the Fire Giant with how low Skeeledon and Wubbn are, but they're going to get this Portal Demon to be able to back and then go for it. Uzzy, though, is going to look to try to maybe at least cancel out. He's going to stun out Wubbn. He's sitting rather low, but can't really aggress too far. Being a nuisance here is Uzzy, but he might have bit off more than he could chew. Noble go through the portal. They get off the Nemesis ulti. They don't want to commit because on the backhand side is Plazma being a nuisance of his own.
But Plazma was spotted out by everybody else from Noble. The immediate 180 turnaround to try and lock down the Susano, forcing him out of his own relics. And now without those being up, again, no one left to contest. Uzzy's mentality there was a great one, trying to prevent Noble for as long as possible so that way a Mighty Storm could respond in hand, see if they could maybe steal away the Fire Giant or just get a couple of picks, but doesn't end up playing out for them, and instead, Noble get the FG and a back to base for free.
I thought Uzzy was dead, guaranteed there, but if it wasn't for Plazma, he would have been dead to rights. Either way, though, Mighty Storm needs to defend their second Fire Giant defense. They successfully defended the left side. Now, Noble are going for round number 2. They need to switch things up because it was Wolp's final judgment that really dictated that first siege.
And again, it's just gotta be Noble needing to spread out their carries enough so to where they can't get hit by the final judgment, but they need to be close enough so they can still deal damage alongside each other.
It's also about being very mindful about the dash taunt from Vivian. Who's going to be the one to engage first here? Skeeledon has been doing a great job at disrupting the backline with that blink, and Whalrus can do the same, that he has a blink. He can find that blink multi-knockup for a lot of damage with moswal. As long as Wolp is that focal point that Noble go for. His Aegis is still down for 20 seconds, but it doesn't seem that Noble really are aware of this or care to do it. Instead, just playing it very safe by going for this Gold Fury.
This is just one of those just because why not? It's on the map, we'll take it away, Gold Furies. There's really no other need since everybody is practically full build. Skeeledon actually sitting with a 3K pot in hand.
That's going to be doing a lot of damage with his in-hands, and it's not... Normally, a lot of junglers will sometimes opt for the 3K protection pot, trying to survive a little bit more, but not Skeeledon, not on this Nemesis. It's all about blowing somebody up, especially with this blink. He's positioning himself on the left-hand side, trying to dictate where the defense is occurring.
And if I'm a Mighty Storm, considering that they haven't lost the Phoenix just yet, they don't have to be the ones to engage here. They can wait all day long for Noble to push up into their Titan.
Now's the time. 5 men from Noble going down the mid lane. Wubbn jumps in. Final judgment not on the mark this time. Noble can breathe easy knowing that ability's on cooldown. Wubbn goes into the dragon, but he took so much damage. 3-man knockup from Whalrus. Akillathehun dropped his sons, but banging on the drums is moswal, not dealing the damage that he really needs to find any kills, and with how close Mighty Storm is to their fountain, they're going to be able to go back, heal, defend round 2.
But here comes the wave, and Vivian had to back, although he's going to be returning. Now it's Yi who's missing from the fight. Uzzy's dash
Great
caught
mess.
out yet again.
Great mez onto Uzzy, not allowing him to dash away into safety. Mid-Phoenix falling. Noble get their first Phoenix in game number 2. Fire Giant still around their waist for 1 more minute. They're going for the left-hand side as Akillathehun stunning out Wubbn, forcing him to retreat. Vivian taking a lot of damage as he's forced to retreat, but Wowy very healthy, chipping away at this Phoenix. The final judgment yet again off the mark. Skeeledon is forced to retreat. moswal gets taken out by Plazma, but end of the day, Noble walk away with their second Phoenix.
And Wowy is still pretty much, well, he is full health, full mana, ready to go in, but Noble just gonna walk away with the 2 Phoenixes already having been secured since moswal is dead for a full minute. Better to be safe than sorry.
And they got the 2 most important Phoenixes of the game here, Taco. It's 1 minute and 20 seconds until Fire Giant respawns on the right, and that's going to be about 3 fire waves flooding down the left and mid lane that Mighty Storm is going to have to respond to if they want to try to... They're going to have to do like this triple balance beam thing where they defend left, defend mid, and slash push or defend the Fire Giant.
That's why I really like this play right now from Akillathehun, because he's pushing up at least one of those waves, but the return by Wowy means that he's just going to push it right back in. But a Mighty Storm need to keep the mid and left-hand waves pushed as far as possible, because once that Fire Giant respawns, as soon as Noble secures it, they are beelining straight for that right-hand Phoenix. It's the only one left standing, and if you don't have to worry about the fire waves, it makes the defense all the easier.
That's exactly what Akillathehun is going to be doing on the left-hand side. No one from Mighty Storm even wants to position themselves to ward around this Fire Giant. It's too risky. The Noble are commanding the vision around that side. There's only one regular ward right next to the blue buff from Mighty Storm. It's just not enough to truly say to us as the viewers that Mighty Storm wants to defend this objective.
And I can't blame a Mighty Storm. The choice here that they have to make, though, is do we have enough defensive positioning and defensive damage to prevent Noble from just all-inning our Titan if they're able to secure that third right-hand Phoenix?
Well, it's all up to Wolp, honestly. The last two engages, he missed his final judgments. Some people say that third time's a charm, and it's going to be very important for Wolp to hit this next final judgment.
And I think that that really will be the make it or break it here for a Mighty Storm. But with the Fire Giant going in favor yet again for Noble, sure enough, they're making their final push onto that right-hand Phoenix, trying to see if they could take out this last remaining bird.
Plazma will defend the left-hand side for the moment. Like you said before, it's very important to push out those waves, so you don't have to worry about it. But Skeeledon, recognizing this, is pushing mid in response, trying to get it a little bit closer to that Titan room and maybe spreading Mighty Storm a little bit too thin in the defenses, not allowing full 5-man rotation on the right.
Understandably so, but if anybody's trying to defend those left and mid side Phoenix fire waves now is not the time to do it, because Noble is 5-man strong pretty much on their side of the map, and you can't afford to let one member from a Mighty Storm look to shift and prevent any of those waves pushing in once the fight breaks out.
It's all a waiting game. There's 3 more minutes on Fire Giant buff for Noble. They have all the time in the world to get this last side Phoenix. Fire waves are starting to slowly trickle down the mid and the left. So Whalrus uses his ultimate in the back, as does Skeeledon, trying to get these squishies away from the action. But Uzzy is left alone. He pops the thorn. Skeeledon falls, not before Uzzy, though. 1 for 1. Right side Phoenix still being aggressive. On Plazma gets taken out by moswal. Suns come raining down by Killa. Doesn't matter though. Phoenix falls. There's 3 Phoenixes down, and there's a 4-on-3 advantage for Noble.
There are 2 about to respawn. There goes the mid lane Phoenix already coming back up, and just as fast as it came up, it's going right back down. Same could be said for this left-hand Phoenix. Trying to get a little bit of poke down to Wubbn as he's retransforming. He's actually caught out, and Akillathehun is going to clean him up.
That was a lot of damage. Wubbn did not have the defenses for the late game, who he damaged, but yet again, Mighty Storm still kind of hold on for the moment because their Titan is still healthy. It's a 3-on-3 for the moment, and it's very important now for Noble to find a way to clean this out because this is getting a little scary.
But with only 3 members remaining and Walsall already up into the Taiko drums, Vivian won't be standing much longer, and sure enough, moswal getting the killing blow.
Final judgment almost takes out Whalrus though, but moswal feeling himself, he dives in the backline. Wolp gets taken out by the combination of fire minions and moswal, all 5 dead from Mighty Storm. Noble will get their second victory here, earning themselves 3 points in week number 2.
That hurts. I mean, I think that regardless, the win was probably going to still go to Noble there, but just the final judgment not having quite enough damage to secure that kill still hurts, because that was the first one I'd seen in a while that actually managed to connect.
I mean, Wolp had the setup necessary. He had Vivian on the Athena, but it just didn't seem to click at every stage of the game because of the disruption coming out of Noble. Every time Vivian was in the mid lane, Wubbn was waiting around those right side mid harpies, didn't really allow for a clean engage.
And that was the problem for Wolp. He was more often than not trying to just freehand those final judgments, and even on Thoth, that character can still be incredibly difficult to land that AoE, or I shouldn't even really call it an AoE, it's more like a projectile line of an ultimate. It's really difficult to free cast that when there's so much going on around you, especially when you probably got your teammates calling out, "I'm dying."
Well, if there's anything that I learned in this set, it's that moswal Thoth greater than Wolp Thoth.
Moswal's Thoth was it was pretty nutty, but I definitely am really excited to see Moswal as mid laner now for Noble, taking over MLC spot since he will now be hi-rez top damage.
Well, that's going to be it for the third set of the day, but stick around. We're going to go on a quick break and wrap things up with the last set of the day.
Do you believe? Do you believe that time will treat us well? Do you believe? I could never tell. What if it's all in vain? What if it didn't mean a thing? Have I gone insane? Or was it all part of your game? Do you believe that we'll make it to the end? Do you believe that I'll still be your friend? Did I ever do you wrong? Were there a defining moment? If you were to be reborn, would you do it all again? Yeah, would you do it all again? Would you do it